What you can postpone today determines what you can own tomorrow. Discipline isn't denial, it's an intelligent delay. Poor is not a financial status, it's a daily decision. And wealth? Wealth is what happens when you stop spending like everyone else and start thinking like no one else. So, what are we going to learn today? We're going to uncover the hidden formula for real wealth. Not just income, but freedom. Not just comfort, but control. So, if you're tired of working hard and ending up with nothing, if you're ready to think like the few instead of living like the many, then stay right where you are. Because today, you learn how to act poor on purpose. So one day, you never have to act rich again. You simply are rich. One of the best pieces of advice I ever received early in my life was simple, almost too simple. Live below your means. But over the years, I added something to that advice. Live below your means, but think far above your circumstances. That little addition makes all the difference. See, anybody can cut back. Anybody can shrink their spending. But if you're only reducing expenses without expanding your vision, you're just practicing scarcity, not strategy. You've got to learn the art of discipline without shrinking your dreams. Because the point isn't just to survive, the point is to build. And you don't build anything lasting if all your thoughts are limited to what you can afford today. Most people, they don't live below their means. They live right up to them and often a little past. They earn $1, spend $1.10, they get a raise, they upgrade their lifestyle. That's not progress. That's just dressing up the same problem in fancier clothes. That's a poverty pattern with polish. And the problem is, it becomes a cycle. You keep trading your time for income, your income for things, and your things for fleeting feelings that disappear the moment the credit card bill arrives. The wealthy don't operate that way. Not the ones who built their wealth from scratch, at least. They live on less than they make, not because they love sacrifice, but because they understand leverage. They understand that every dollar not spent is a dollar that can be planted, and what you plant today, you harvest tomorrow. It's not about denial, it's about direction. I remember when I was young and broke, trying to figure out how to get ahead. And someone said to me, "It's not that you don't have enough money, it's that you're not doing the right things with what you have." That stung. But it was true. I was spending money the moment it arrived. I had a poor man's habit in a rich man's disguise. I looked successful, but I wasn't building anything. So I started doing something radical. I started acting poorer than I was. I'd earn $100 and pretend I only had $70. I'd save and invest the difference. I'd go to the grocery store with a budget even when I didn't have to. And I began to feel a strange sense of power. Not weakness, not lack, but control. And that control turned into confidence. And that confidence turned into discipline, and that discipline turned into options. It's funny, when you act poor with a strategy, you end up rich without a struggle. But here's the key. While I was living below my means, I never let my mind get stuck in those means. I kept reading books about wealth. I kept imagining what freedom would look like. I kept dreaming about helping my family, giving generously, building something that would outlive me. You've got to hold both worlds, intention, humility in your spending, but ambition in your vision. If you only live below your means with no vision, you grow bitter. If you only think big but spend recklessly, you stay broke. But if you combine both strategy and vision, you begin to create something powerful. You begin to lay down tracks toward financial independence. You begin to take control of your future. So don't fall into the trap of appearances. Don't spend money to look successful. Spend money like someone who knows where they're going. Be the one who drives the old car but owns the land. Be the one who brings lunch from home but is buying shares in companies others only shop from. Be the one who's quiet about wealth but loud in discipline. Because in the end, it's not what you wear or where you live or how many gadgets you have that will define your wealth. It's what you do with what you have. And if you can learn to live below your means today while thinking far above your circumstances, you'll soon find yourself in a position where your money works harder than you do. And that's when real wealth begins. The good life isn't bought, it's built. I want to share something that took me years to fully grasp. You don't multiply money by just earning more. You multiply money by doing more with what you already have. Most folks think their financial breakthrough is tied to a raise, a new job, or some big opportunity. But I'll tell you this, more income won't solve poor habits. In fact, it usually makes them worse. If you can't manage $1,000, you won't suddenly become a wise steward with $10,000. That's not how it works. The amount doesn't change, the principle the person does. I've met people who made six figures and still lived paycheck to paycheck. And I've met others who made modest incomes but managed to grow a quiet fortune. So, what was the difference? It wasn't the paycheck, it was the plan. It wasn't more earning, it was more awareness. See, most people don't need more money. What they need is more wisdom, more self-control, more structure. Because money doesn't multiply on its own, you got to put it to work. You want to know how to multiply money? First, stop wasting it. That's step one. Before you go looking for higher income, plug the leaks in the boat you're already sailing. I always say, if your lifestyle expands every time your paycheck does, you're not building wealth, you're just changing scenery on the same road to nowhere. Audit your spending. Track your expenses. Find the hidden money you're leaking every week. And then take that hidden money, that lazy money, and turn it into working money. You see, money is like a little soldier. Every dollar is a worker. The question is, are you sending it to war or to waste? A dollar spent on impulse is a dollar that'll never return. A dollar invested is a dollar that might bring friends back with it. And over time, those friends bring more friends. That's the magic of discipline and time. I remember when I started doing this myself. I wasn't earning a lot, but I made a decision. Every time I came across extra money, whether a refund, a bonus, or even just the change from skipping coffee, I'd treat it like an opportunity, not an accident. I didn't spend it faster because I had it. I slowed down. I asked, what can this dollar become? And over time, small decisions became big results. Not overnight, but inevitably. Now here's another way you multiply. You reinvest. Don't just let your money sit. Put it somewhere. It can grow even slowly. Compound interest isn't fast, but it's faithful. It's like gravity for wealth, always pulling upward if you're consistent. Every dollar you keep and invest is like planting a tree. The first season, it's not impressive. The second, still not much. But give it enough time, and one day, that tree gives shade, shelter, and fruit. But all of this requires patience. That's where most people miss the mark. They want multiplication to feel exciting. But multiplication is often boring, and that's what makes it work. It's tracking expenses. It's choosing the second-hand item. It's investing before you reward yourself. It's saying not yet instead of why not. And most of all, it's staying consistent when no one is clapping for you. The world cheers when you spend. It's quiet when you build. But the applause later is worth the silence now. So stop asking how to earn more and start asking how to use what you have with more excellence. Stop chasing raises and start chasing discipline. Because if you're not ready to multiply $100, you're not ready for $1,000. You don't fix money by chasing more of it. You fix money by becoming someone who deserves more of it. You don't get rich by earning more, you get rich by getting wise. And once you get wise, the money takes care of itself. Let me tell you something most people misunderstand. Leverage isn't about how much money you have in your pocket, it's about how much value you can create without it. People wait too long. They say, I'll get started once I have the capital, or once I've saved enough, then I'll invest. But what they don't realize is that you can start building leverage long before a single dollar arrives. Because leverage isn't money. It's creativity. It's skill. It's relationships. It's systems. And if you get those working for you early, the money will chase you. I learned this the hard way. I used to think the only way to get ahead was to earn more, save more, or borrow more. But I began to notice something. The most successful people I met weren't always the richest to start. What they had was leverage. One man had a powerful network of people who trusted him. Another had a skill so valuable that companies lined up to use it. And yet another built a product once and it kept working for him for years. None of them started with wealth, but all of them learned how to multiply effort without multiplying cost. That's the definition of leverage. So, how do you start building leverage when you don't have capital? Start with skill. Develop a skill so strong, so sharp, that it can't be ignored. Learn to speak, sell, write, fix, solve, teach something that has value in the marketplace. Money follows value. And when you become more valuable, you don't need to chase opportunity. Opportunity finds you. When I was starting out, I didn't have much. But I learned how to talk, how to teach, how to deliver an idea with conviction. And that became my leverage. That one skill opened more doors than money ever could. Second, relationships. One of the greatest forms of capital in the world is trust. And trust isn't bought, it's earned. Build connections. Show up consistently. Offer value before you ask for anything. Help someone solve a problem. Introduce them to a contact. Bring something to the table besides your own need. Because if enough people trust you, if they see you as someone reliable, that's leverage. People lend their influence, their network, their wisdom, not just their money, to those they believe in. Next, build systems. And don't let that word intimidate you. A system can be as simple as a checklist, a template, a repeatable routine, or a framework that runs without you having to reinvent it every time. Write a blog post that keeps getting read. Record a lesson that keeps getting sold. Build a process that others can follow. That's leverage when your past effort keeps producing present results. Most people keep trading time for money. But when you build systems, you're buying your time back. And time is the real wealth. Now here's the truth. You won't see the reward immediately. That's why most people don't do it. They say, what's the point of learning this skill? No one's paying me yet. Or, why should I build a system if no one is using it right now? That's the poor mindset speaking. The wealthy mindset says, I'll build it before the demand shows up. I'll prepare while others procrastinate. It's the mindset that acts today to harvest tomorrow. It's planting seeds in the spring, not waiting until fall and wondering why the field is empty. I once worked with a young man who had no money to start with, but he had a phone, an internet connection, and curiosity. He learned digital marketing in the evenings, helped friends for free, built a small portfolio, and within a year, businesses were hiring him. He had built leverage without capital. His skill, his reputation, and his consistency became his startup fund. And guess what? He didn't have to borrow. He didn't have to wait. He simply started with what he had. So stop telling yourself you need money to get moving. You need direction. You need intention. You need to look around and ask, what do I already have that can become valuable with focus and discipline? Leverage isn't about money. It's about using your time, your talent, and your tools in a way that builds momentum. When you get that right, the capital shows up later as a reward, not as a requirement. Let me share with you one of the most powerful truths about wealth, one that most people overlook because they want results overnight. But the real magic of wealth is not in sudden windfalls or lucky breaks. It's in the quiet, almost invisible power of compounding. That's right. Wealth doesn't show up quickly. It sneaks up on you over time. Like the gentle drip of water that carves a canyon. Compounding builds momentum, slowly at first, but then with unstoppable force. When I was younger, I didn't understand this well. I wanted quick returns, fast promotions, immediate results. But life and experience taught me that compounding is the engine that drives lasting success. It's not just about money. It's about habits, learning, relationships, and everything you do consistently. Because compounding is what happens when small positive actions add up day after day, month after month, year after year. Let's talk about compound interest first. The financial world often calls it the eighth wonder of the world, and for good reason. When you save money and let it earn interest, that interest earns interest too. Over time, this exponential growth creates wealth that far surpasses what you might imagine if you only consider your initial savings. But here's the catch. Compounding works best when you start early and keep going. The longer you wait, the more ground you lose. I remember early on when I set aside small amounts regularly, even when money was tight and those little seeds began to grow. The secret wasn't how much I saved, but how long I let those savings grow. Time is your greatest ally if you use it wisely. But compounding isn't just about money. Think about your habits. Small daily disciplines, reading a page from a good book, practicing a skill, saving a little bit each day might seem insignificant at first. Yet these habits compound. They build character, knowledge, and discipline, and eventually these qualities create an unstoppable momentum. I often tell people, don't underestimate the power of small, good habits done consistently. They're the foundation of success. I started with just 10 minutes a day of reading and reflection. It seems small, but over years it transformed my thinking and my results. Learning compounds too. Each lesson you absorb, each experience you gain, adds to your reservoir of wisdom. Knowledge is like compound interest for the mind. It grows silently, unseen, but when an opportunity comes, your prepared mind can capitalize on it. I learned early that the world rewards those who never stop learning. When I was starting, I'd invest time in listening to mentors, reading and observing successful people. It wasn't a race, it was a process. Each piece of knowledge stacked on the last, and eventually, my understanding and confidence grew exponentially. Even relationships compound. The trust, goodwill you build with people over time multiply in ways that can't be forced or hurried. Every connection you nurture adds value. And over years, these relationships become a network of support, opportunity, and influence. I recall times when a single introduction or a trusted relationship opened doors that no amount of money could buy. Now, here's where many people stumble. They expect instant results and give up too soon. They overlook the fact that compounding is a slow burner. It's not flashy, but it's relentless. The results start small, and many quit before the breakthrough. Don't be that person. Commit to the process. Understand that every small deposit you make into your future, whether it's saving money, reading, learning a skill, or building a relationship, is a seed planted. And over time, these seeds will grow into a harvest so large it will surprise you. The key is patience and persistence. Wealth, success, and freedom are not gifts handed out overnight. They are earned by those who understand that slow, steady growth beats quick, reckless moves every time. Let the power of compounding work for you, not against you. The habits you build today are the foundation of your tomorrow's fortune. So remember this, wealth sneaks up on you quietly through the steady drip of compound interest, compound habits, compound learning, and compound relationships. Ignore it, and you'll miss the tide. Embrace it, and you'll ride a wave that can carry you beyond your wildest dream. Let me tell you, one of the greatest secrets to building wealth isn't about making more money. It's about spotting the wealth that's already hiding in plain sight, right within your daily routine. You see, many people think wealth is something that only shows up when they land a big job, get a promotion, or stumble upon a lucky investment. But the truth is, wealth is often slipping through your fingers in habits you barely notice. It's in the small, everyday choices you make without thinking. If you don't learn to recognize these little leaks, no matter how much you earn, your money will just flow away like water through a sieve. When I first began my journey, I was blind to this. I remember sitting at a table looking over my meager paycheck and wondering why, despite working so hard, the money was never enough. That's when a mentor of mine said something that changed my life. Wealth is hiding in your daily routine. If you want to get rich, find out where you are spending without purpose and plug those leaks. I took those words seriously and started watching myself closely. Not just my spending, but how I used my time, how I planned, and where I wasted energy. Think about it. How many times have you bought a coffee you didn't need, a gadget that caught your eye, or spent an hour scrolling through social media with no real purpose? Those little expenses and moments add up, quietly chipping away at your potential to build real wealth. But here's the beautiful part. Once you start paying attention, you realize that every hour you save, every dollar you don't waste, and every decision you make with intention becomes hidden capital. It's money and time you can redirect into things that grow your future. I encourage you to take a simple step. Track your habits for just 1 week. Write down every dollar you spend and note how you spend your time. You might be shocked at the leaks you find. For me, it was small things unnecessary, lunches out, impulse buys, and even the time spent on activities that gave me little return. Once I identified these, I made a plan to plug those leaks. That meant cooking at home more, saying no to needless expenses, and focusing my energy on tasks that brought me closer to my goals. Plugging these leaks isn't about deprivation or living a joyless life. It's about conscious living, choosing where your resources go with purpose and direction. When you start thinking this way, you transform your daily routine into a treasure hunt, where every hour and every dollar holds hidden potential. This is how you build a foundation of wealth without needing to suddenly earn more. And remember, the power of this is compounding. When you stop leaking money and time, the resources you save multiply over weeks, months, and years. That's how fortunes are quietly built, through the steady plugging of everyday leaks. So don't overlook the small stuff. It's in the small stuff that the hidden wealth lies, waiting for you to claim it. If you're serious about changing your financial future, start here. Become a detective in your own life. Find those leaks, plug them, and watch how your wealth begins to rise from places you never expected. Wealth is not just found in grand gestures. It's often discovered by paying attention to the simple things we do every day. Plug those leaks, and your journey to financial freedom will gain unstoppable momentum. Before wealth ever appears in your bank account, it first takes root in the soil of your mind. You see, the journey to financial success is not just about dollars and cents. It's about the way you think, the habits you form, and the mindset you nurture every single day. Far too many people believe they have to wait until they have money before they start acting like they're wealthy. But that's exactly where they go wrong. Wealth is attracted to those who already think like it, who live with intention, and prepare themselves to receive it. I remember early in my own life, I was eager to have more money, but I didn't understand that the mind must be cultivated before the money can grow. I wasn't born wealthy, but I began to study those who were. I paid attention to their habits, their language, and their daily disciplines. They didn't just stumble into riches, they acted as if they already owned their future success. They read books on financial literacy, spoke confidently about their goals, and invested in themselves even when funds were tight. This wasn't arrogance, it was preparation. You have to understand that the mind attracts what it's prepared for. If your thoughts are cluttered with doubt, scarcity, or negative beliefs about money, your actions will follow suit and the results will reflect that. But if you begin to speak abundance into your life, if you adopt habits of discipline, learning, and generosity, you align yourself with the frequency of wealth. It's like tuning a radio to the right station. When your mindset is ready, the signals of opportunity and prosperity come loud and clear. Living with intention means more than just hoping or wishing. It means setting clear goals, visualizing your success daily, and making choices that reflect your desired future rather than your current circumstance. Wealthy thinking is intentional thinking. It's about stewarding your time, your energy, and your resources wisely. It's about investing in yourself, knowing that the greatest asset you have is your ability to learn, grow, and contribute value. I want you to realize that you don't have to wait to be rich to start thinking rich. You can start right now, in this very moment, by deciding to change the conversation you have with yourself about money. Replace scarcity with abundance. Replace hesitation with action. Replace fear with faith. As you do, you'll begin to notice opportunities where none seemed to exist before. Remember, wealth is not an accident. It's a result of the mindset you build today. So prepare your mind like a gardener prepares the soil, rich, fertile, and ready to nurture the seeds of success. Act as a steward of your future, and the wealth you seek will be drawn to you naturally. Start thinking like the wealthy before you become one, and watch how your life begins to transform in ways you never imagined possible. Discipline is a light burden, easy to carry, yet regret the weight of missed opportunities and unwise choices can crush a man's spirit like a boulder on his back. This truth has been proven time and again by those who have chosen the path to lasting wealth. The small, seemingly insignificant sacrifices you make each day, whether it's saying no to an extra luxury, setting aside just $10 from your paycheck, or reading a single chapter of a book that expands your mind, these moments of discipline are the bricks that build the foundation of your future prosperity. I recall a time when I was struggling financially, and the temptation to indulge was great. A new gadget, a fancy meal, or a night out seemed like the easiest way to soothe the stress of the day. But I learned quickly that those momentary pleasures often led to a heavier burden down the road. I chose instead to pay myself first, to save those small amounts consistently, and to dedicate time daily to my personal growth. What seemed like a sacrifice then became the source of my freedom later. You see, indulgence now often becomes poverty later. When you choose immediate gratification, you're essentially borrowing happiness from tomorrow, and tomorrow comes with interest, a heavy price to pay. The decisions you make today echo in your future financial situation. That extra coffee, the impulse buy, the skipped savings, they may seem trivial, but they add up over time. On the other hand, the discipline to delay pleasure and invest in your future yields dividends that no lottery ticket can provide. The power of daily discipline lies in its compounding effect. Just like money left to grow in a savings account, habits compound over time. One day of discipline might feel light, but repeated day after day, month after month, it shapes your destiny. It builds resilience, character, and a financial cushion that can weather any storm. The person who practices discipline daily becomes someone who does not fear uncertainty because their foundation is strong. Regret, on the other hand, is the heavy weight carried by those who let indulgence rule their choices. It's the burden of wishing they had started earlier, saved more, learned more, and controlled their impulses better. Regret is not just about money lost. It's about the lost potential, the missed opportunities, and the life that might have been. So, weigh carefully the ounces of discipline against the tons of regret. Choose to live with purpose, to make small daily sacrifices that pave the way for abundance. This discipline is not punishment, it is empowerment. It is the language of those who know that true wealth is built one step, $1, one habit at a time. Carry discipline lightly, and you will avoid the heavy chains of regret. The choice is yours, and it will shape your tomorrow. Many believe that the key to financial freedom lies in earning more, getting that raise, landing a higher-paying job, or finding a new source of income. While it's true that more money can help, it's not the magic bullet that most imagine it to be. The reality is far more subtle and far more powerful. You don't need a bigger income. You need a better plan. It's not how much you bring in that determines your financial future. It's what you do with what you already have. Let me tell you a story from my own life. Early on, I was focused solely on increasing my income. I worked longer hours, took on extra projects, and chased every dollar I could find. Yet no matter how much I earned, the money seemed to slip through my fingers. It was like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. I was trapped in a cycle of earning more and spending more, and the hole never got smaller. It was only when I shifted my focus from making more money to managing what I had better that things changed. I began to budget, to prioritize saving, and to create a clear financial plan. Instead of letting my spending rise with my income, I controlled my expenses and put a strategy in place to grow my wealth. That strategy was the turning point. Wealth isn't built by working harder alone, it's built by working smarter. Strategy means understanding where every dollar goes and making sure that each one serves a purpose. It's about paying yourself first, investing wisely, and living within your means even as your income grows. It's about creating a plan that leverages your resources, minimizes waste, and maximizes growth. You see, the trap many fall into is the lifestyle inflation, earning more, spending more. The bigger paycheck comes, the more expensive the car, the fancier the meals, the pricier the vacations. Before long, they're no better off than when they started. But the wealthy think differently. They keep their spending in check and let their income growth translate into increased savings and investments. If you want to build lasting wealth, don't wait for a bigger paycheck. Start now with a plan that includes budgeting, saving, investing, and protecting your money. Remember, money follows a plan, and without a plan, money quickly becomes an illusion. You must become the master of your money, not its slave. Effort without strategy is like rowing a boat without a rudder. You'll exert yourself but drift aimlessly. But with a plan, your effort becomes focused, directed, and effective. You don't need to earn more today. You need to learn how to make what you have today work harder for you. So, if you're serious about changing your financial future, start with a plan. Make a budget. Set clear goals. Track your spending and put your money to work. Because wealth is not an accident, it's a strategy well executed.